Cool. Okay. It's not a bad connection speed I got.
What? Oh, you got one or you don't got one?
I got a pretty good speed. I got pretty good ups on my downlinks with my up and downs and my pudding pops.
Oh, that was a nice Cosby. You get a gold star. You get a gold star, man.
I do what I can, which is everything.
Oh, it's so hard to be Jeff Holbrook.
I just got a text. Number one, the text that I got, the E in my name has an accent aigu, and it also says that Marty and Noel are 45 minutes from Athens.
All right.
Good to know.
Let the lactating cat pheromones commence.
What?
Yep. Explain, Jeff.
So for those of you who don't know, in the house that I'm staying in, there's a really skittish cat, and to help calm this feral cat down, they have a device in their house that will emit the smell of a lactating mother cat. So,
and that's a good thing.
It calmed me down, I gotta tell you.
I wonder if that lactating pheromone like works on all species. Like obviously not like cats for humans, but I wonder.
Right.
I wonder if that's a calming thing.
I don't know, but in T-minus 44 minutes, if we have an interruption in the podcast, it's because my hosts have returned to the place that they live and own and are letting me do a podcast in.
Whatever.
So,
That's so
there you go.
inconsiderate.
Whatever.
Not the part about letting you, but like wanting to come home.
They wandered through a couple of other podcasts, so that's good.
Probably did, knowing Marty.
It's tradition now, yeah.
But we digress. Hello!
Because once again, we're in our Tri-City setup.
We are in our Tri-City setup to remain for a while, I suppose. Although, Aaron, I did see you today in the same city, but not to podcast, which is hilarious.
Just passing through.
So I should do the usual spiel. For those of you just joining us, this is ArTechník podcast. You probably figured that out by now. Podcast about the intersection of art and technology, where we talk about art and technology and how they intersect. I am Jeff Holbrook, and joining us from Stone Mountain is...
Aaron Gottlieb. I'm a puppeteer.
And? Yes. And from Kentucky?
This is Adam Montague and the Bluegrass State.
Oh, I thought you were going to say you had like a band behind it.
Oh.
It's Adam Montague and Bluegrass Frontier back in the
It wouldn't surprise me if Adam had a backup band at like just random...
Well, there is an entire wall of instruments behind me, so if there's any movement going on behind me, it'll probably be the custodial staff again coming in to check on things. So,
oh, that's good. I don't have the budget for a band.
As long as we all run the risk of somebody barging into our recording session, I think it's an equal opportunity and fair game.
Yeah.
All right, good. This one's got a little danger behind it.
Danger. So, what have y'all been doing? Because I've been knee-deep in performance workshops.
Well, I had an audition today for a commercial, and I had to leave the academy that I'm directing to do it, which was nice of them to let me go.
So everything fell apart, of course, while you were gone,
right?
There
was revolt, there were riots, there were screaming and bodies strewn everywhere. The usual. That was just movement class, waka, waka, waka. But yeah, no, I had an audition today, and it was weird because there was a little bit of improvisation, and film improvisation is a little different than theatrical improvisation. And man, I bombed it. I was awful. Oh gosh,
was it like too big? Were you talking too much? Like, what was why do you feel? What was
well, I still haven't figured out why I feel things yet. I'm working on that.
What? Was the film improv and the reasons it failed any similar to the way we are failing on podcast prov right now by interrupting each other constantly?
Maybe a little bit. Except I couldn't think of things to say.
Okay,
and that's actually not a really big deal. It was just hard to come up with a an activity to do with this scene partner of mine. But I had kind of a bad introduction with this gentleman because we sit down and
He throat punched you.
well, he only
Metaphorically.
theatrically, metaphorically, yeah. I mean, he metaphorically throat punched me, and it was not cool. It was not cool at all. In fact, it reminds me of another improv experience I had, but I digress.
Yeah.
So I was there, and I sit down at the audition, and these things are weird because you usually don't know who you're auditioning with, even though Atlanta's a small town. In that sense, in the regards of the pool that's available, you usually still don't know who you're auditioning with. So I had never met this guy. I find out his name. I give him my name, and we talk for a little bit. I try and figure out what's his thing, what's he do, and he gives me an answer that is appropriately like about him because I asked what he does, but there's this little tinge of self-involvement that I can't quite quantify, but I'm like, something's not entirely great about this answer, and I can tell. And so we talk for a little bit and then go back to sitting and reading, doing our own thing, and then we're called up to audition together. And he then asks me my name, not like, what's your name again? Or, hey, I forgot, what's your name? But what's your name? As if we had not just discussed this. Right?
Right.
As if the lady also who called us up to audition had not just said both of our names.
Wow.
Right?
Well,
That's okay. 'Cause
I don't
he's
have
working
to
on his feature.
Yeah, I don't have to bother learning your name. I mean, you're just the the dummy that I'm auditioning against, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. And it was like, so, he's like, so what do you do? He's like, blah, 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 I write. And I'm like, oh, that's cool. You write. He goes, well, I don't like to do it. I'm like, oh, okay. Well, all right. Well, anyway, what do you write? And he's like, well, I'm writing this feature. For this, to go after this series, and I go, oh, cool. Is it something you're self-producing or something you're looking to sell? And he goes, well, we're producing it. We're already producing it. Taking the word self out of it, but I'm like, I think you're self-producing, which is fine, like, because that's what we
Sure.
do. But I'm just like, relax, man. Quit trying to like impress or bluster me. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
relax. I ain't never heard of you. You ain't never heard of me. Clearly, we're not doing as well as either of us
Because we're
are
here.
imagining in our minds, right?
Yeah.
And so we go into the room and we audition, and I felt a little thrown under the bus. Now, I should have come with, more ideas right away,
Yeah.
but I just felt like he was doing his thing, I was doing my thing, and
Never the twain shall meet.
there was yes, and you encounter that a lot in movie stuff. Because a lot of times you are shooting your side of things and they're shooting their side of things, and the twain only meet in editing. And in this case, it was like, dude, we're right next to each other.
Wow. I guess that's
Come
something,
on.
I guess it's something I knew. I understood that, you filmed those two sides of the conversation separately, but I guess I never thought about how it could potentially throw or sabotage another actor,
My career?
your career.
It's been very weird being the screenwriter for this orientation video series I've been doing for Georgia Perimeter, where I've been at several of the shoots and I've seen what got shot and what the performers did, and I still have absolutely no idea how any of them are gonna like actually come out, be done when they finish.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, okay, I sort of see the jigsaw puzzle pieces, but I'm working without a box top to check them again.
Right.
And so I
Yeah.
still hope that they're going to be great, but
Yeah, it's kind of like that thing. I don't remember what like director or celebrity in some interview was like being accused of, you make these bad movies here, and then every once in a while you make a good one. Like you seem to alternate, something that maybe critically or financially doesn't do as well, and then you've got like this blockbuster. And the actor or director's response, I can't remember which, was something to the effect of, well, nobody really sets out to do a bad movie. Like everybody that's working on it from their end. Yeah. And sometimes if you're the actor and you're not, looking at dailies and, seeing what it looks like, or even, what the final product is going to look like after they put filters and all these other things on it, you have no concept, and you're sort of putting your trust in somebody else's hand of what the final product is going to be. Yeah.
Yeah, and sometimes you get rehearsal and sometimes you don't. And when you get rehearsal, it's all about the camera blocking and stuff. And the weird thing is when you're used to going into a rehearsal room and kind of having total information about the play and the story, and you get to see what everyone else's work is and what they're trying to do in a play. Whenever you go on set, number one, you may not have all of your script, either due to it doesn't exist or confidentiality, right? Like, we can't give you all the script, but we can give you this one page or whatever. But even if you're in the room when they're rehearsing things and you're supposedly in the same scene together, the actions, unless you are doing a dialogue scene between two people where you are standing next to each other, the actions in their rehearsal are so small. And even in that case, if you're doing it and they're shooting one person's coverage and another's, right? The actions are so small in the rehearsal because it's so close for camera. If you're standing off, behind the director, unless you're looking at monitor, if you can get access to it, you have no idea really what they're doing.
Sure.
You kind of know what they're doing, but largely it's like, okay, I think when this person tilts their head, 1/2 degree to the left, I think that maybe matches up with this word. I don't know. I can't tell.
Right.
It's so weird.
And speaking of like those fine little things, I watched this weekend, which I hadn't seen, I think, since the movie came out, Gangs of New York with Daniel Day-Lewis, because Daniel Day-Lewis is such a fascinating creature to watch on screen, just because there are so many little things that he does. I know we've talked about There Will Be Blood on here before, and the blocking of a scene, but he's just amazing to watch. It was on Bravo, so it had, a commercial every 5 minutes, but he brought me back every time it came back, and they'd show Bill the Butcher. I was back in it. And in fairness, I was also pretty hopped up on a pint of Chubby Hubby, a couple shots of bourbon, and I was eating a package. I was eating a package of dried figs as well. Like I was
not ginger.
Oh my God, hedonism bot.
Yeah.
I would like dry figs,
That's
bourbon,
exactly.
and cocaine.
You saw him play Obama, right?
What?
You saw Daniel Day-Lewis appear as
yes.
Obama, yes.
We were thinking of the Decadent Bots, and
Yes.
we were
I
confused.
was like, you saw hedonism bot play Obama, right?
No, Daniel Day-Lewis.
Change you can't believe in.
Yes, I saw that. It was very funny. Actually, yeah.
Aye.
It was a great movie. But yeah. Okay, articles.
Oh yeah,
as,
articles.
As everybody nods. Literally everybody turned their head away as if we all went to sleep simultaneously. Like looking at the video feed, everybody went and sleep.
Power down. Power down.
Articles. I got one little thing that I want to throw out there. This was a story I saw that that app Snapchat.
Yes.
I
know of it. I've not used it though.
I haven't
But I
used
know
it
it
either. There's
exists.
a lot of the interns here use it. They were throwing it around that first day.
Oh, they just use it to sext each other.
That's all they do. Snapchat apparently has gone through a couple of updates, and they're trying to revitalize, I guess, to, of course, try to get away from that image of the sexting app and that sort of thing. And so they're refining a little bit and trying to make the inner play with the program not to be quite as shady and sketchy. However, they've renamed it, like, sometimes when they put out a new version, like the new operating system of Mac, like it's called Maverick. Like they name something, they christen it. Well, the new Snapchat incarnation is called Banquo. Like from Shakespeare,
Really?
like from Macbeth, like Banquo. And what does that make you think of, based on what our interpretation of, our perception of Snapchat, and then you throw out a rebrand like Banquo? Just run with that for a second, boys.
My initial response, like my just gut, was like that it was a weird mispronunciation of Bangkok, and all of the seedy, like all of the stories about what you can get away with in Bangkok.
And you know what one night in Bangkok will do?
Finish it.
It'll make a tough man tumble. Hard man crumble.
For me, when
and other things.
Yeah, when I heard it, like I was just thinking, well, Banquo, he was what? He was Macbeth's friend, but look what happened to him. Like, is that
things turned out well for everyone in that play?
Right.
Everyone. Things turned out very well.
And so, these are my friends that I interact with this app, and play with me on Snapchat, and you'll die. I
can't wait to Banquo you later.
Is he the one that appears at the feast as a ghost later on?
He does, all covered in blood.
Okay, so
Yeah.
Isn't
Oh God.
their little Snapchat logo the little smiley, sticky out tongue ghost thing?
Yes, and that was their
So they've
that
named
was
him
their
Banquo.
I guess that was their defense and explanation as to why they called it Banquo, because of the little
I like that
ghosty
you use the
icon.
word defense.
Why?
Defense in talking about. You say defense and then explanation in talking about a product's name.
I'd love to see that little meeting with the press. Okay, this is our defense, and this is our explanation.
Banquo.
Run with whichever
Boobs
one
and
you
gone.
That was it.
That's-
I just thought it was a funny name,
It is a funny
That
name.
is weird.
Banquo. The other article that
It
I
actually
have.
superimposes images of blood over every photo you receive.
Uh, the other article that I had was there was a show, and I know I saw this show. It aired originally. Wait. It originally aired in England, United Kingdom, but I feel if I did not see the original, like broadcast on PBS, then I saw like the Nickelodeon sort of version of
Okay.
this game. Okay, and so there was this game called Nightmare. Okay, and it used like blue screen, like green screen technology, which was like brand new in 1984. And
Right.
and so the premise was you were called into like this like knight's dungeon, and there was a host, and you called on your team to help you navigate the dungeon. And so what they did was they for the person that was playing the game, they put on this knight's helmet, which completely blocked and obscured their vision. And then they would stand facing like a blue screen, green screen. And your friends would give you, I think you had up to 3 friends, would give you commands on how to navigate the computer, like animated and computer painted images that were coming your way. Like you might be going down a hallway and maybe boulders are coming your way. So they would say like, move to the left. And so you would move to the left to, avoid the boulder rolling on the right side of the hallway. Or, but there were also like things that you could grab in the environment. Like they would say, reach up to your right and you would touch like the turkey leg or the magic potion. And so you could collect potions that you could use as well. And there were also like sometimes word games thrown in where you'd have to like unscramble a word. But again, it was people on the outside watching the video monitor, and then from their perspective and from the person watching at home, they were watching somebody walk down, and I'm doing air quotes, walk down like a computer generated hallway. And so
What was this called again?
it was called Nightmare, and they did
Okay.
8 seasons of it, and I watched a couple of clips of it online, and even just describing it, it sounds like a couple of shows that were maybe on Nickelodeon back in the late 80s.
That video
Nick
game show
Arcade.
I'm thinking of.
Yeah.
Nick Arcade. Yeah.
Nick
But
Arcade.
there
Yeah.
was
So
one that I think was more specifically what Adam's talking about, and I can't.
Yeah.
Oh,
Like
okay.
it's just tickling the back
Yeah.
primal neurons of my brain.
And so again, my brain is not confirming whether I saw the original series or some version of it. But anyway, so this game existed, and there are a group of 3 friends right now that are, I think it's a Kickstarter campaign. I have to double check my notes, where they are trying to create a live stage version that they are going to premiere at the Edinburgh Fringe this year.
Oh, cool! I just
Yes. Go ahead.
I
Go ahead.
just saw a stage game show experimental piece at Atlanta Fringe. Had nothing to do with video games. In fact, it was actually a 70s throwback, and it was called Piles of Crap. And all of the games were built from thrift store finds. Like there was one round where you had to sort socks, and every correct pair you got into these sock drawers that they had found at a thrift store, counted for points. And there was a balloon pop, and one called Crap Shoot, where you had to throw random crap through some hula hoops hanging off of chains. And the gimmick of the show part, I mean, we all got into the playing the game show and, being that 70s audience. But where the like stage scripty part really came in was the prize presentations were these piles of loosely associated thrift store finds, and so whoever won the round had to pick between, unintentionally patriotic or Disney's Lost Princess. And based on what they picked, they would get this armful of random thrift store finds that they then had to like carry back to the audience up this horrendously precarious row of stairs. And it was surprisingly like it was just weird and fun and silly.
Oh, see, I feel game shows, first off, I think like America invented game shows. I think. I mean, we seem to be the people that kind of innovated in a lot of like television areas. I don't know if this is true, but I'm just going to say, I think the United States created game shows. And
we were the first country to fry a game show.
Fry a game
Go
show?
on.
We fry everything. We're American.
Never mind.
Oh, gotcha.
I'm just trying to derail with a one-liner.
Sorry. I didn't know if it was like some tech term. I didn't know. Okay. But anyway, and I feel they really like hit a peak like in the 70s and 80s. You had like, Don't Press Your Luck, and like the match game was so fun, and like Liars Club, and like, nowadays it's all like these very cold and, you pick a suitcase, or, you poll 100 people. You know what I mean? Like it doesn't have the wackiness of what I feel all of these 70s and 80s things did.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, wackiness is a very analog thing.
Okay.
I associate wackiness with Muppets and non-digital Muppets.
Non-digital Muppets.
There are digital
Oh.
Muppets, so
And
he's got a fair stance
right.
to say that.
I had to be specific.
Yeah.
But the 70s, I imagine they look like, in the documents of record that I have seen,
I was
to be
there.
a more tactile kind of time.
I was
Like,
there
everything
for
feels
9 months.
textured.
Oh,
That's
yeah.
right, you were.
I was.
Everything feels textured, like in the design aesthetic.
Yeah.
It's
Like
true.
Yeah,
things look
wallpaper.
soft, squishy, textured,
Yeah.
round.
I mean, half the time the wallpaper was like carpeting. Like everything was carpeted or covered in
Right.
like that burlappy, texture pushpin material.
Now, that's my skin you're talking about.
But so it's this fun thing. I did double check. It is on Kickstarter. So if you want to send them some money, they're raising funds right now to go to the Edinburgh Fringe. And depending upon what level you give, and some it's as low as $30, you'll be able to get or win for your support basically the props they're using in the show. So people that bid higher, I think, will get the helmet that they use in the stage show. They're apparently building a lot of puppets as well too, because if I remember, there are like a ghoulie will jump out from behind a door or something to try and stop you. So again, it's not going to be like a virtual reality. Like that's not what they're trying to do. They're trying to create a theatrical version of this game show that will play out each night in front of an audience.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Have I ever told you guys about? I think it was called Future Shock. This weird prank that turned into an elaborate staged theatrical video experience.
Talk about it.
Okay, so the prank was these guys took a friend's brother's Facebook page, right when Facebook was sort of new and unknown in a lot of ways, and they searched through the Facebook photos that the brother had posted. And so they made this photo album of his life and dropped it off on his front door with like a note that said, to the man who saved the future.
That's
And
great,
left it
yeah.
on his front door without any further explanation except a puzzle on the back page that was a random made-up date. And so the premise being that this kid was going to save the future, and therefore he had a biography about him, and that they were delivering the biography from the future to the past so that he would know about his destiny.
That sounds like it violates time travel 101, but go on.
unless they were meant to go back, and so that he becomes
Gosh, are you on the
aware.
Hawking side of
Because
time travel? Is that
I'm
where you're at?
if
Are you
there
on the
is
Hawking side or the Doc Brown side?
look, if there are ever sides to be picked, I will always be on the Dr. Stephen Hawking side. All right.
All right, continue, Aaron.
Um, and so that was going to be the extent of the prank, is that they were going to be like, "Hey, this thing showed up from your own future. Ha ha ha. We're never going to explain it to you. You're going to live the rest of your life wondering how a stranger put together a photo album of your life." Um, but the kid like solved the puzzle and figured out the date, and the older brother who was friends with the guys who had done the prank was like, he's like waiting for this date to happen now, and so they
And
decided,
they're like,
oh well, we should do something on that day that we assigned to him. And so it was like 2 years later, and they delivered another message, with more elaborate instructions and more elaborate stuff. And they thought that was sort of going to be the end of it. And so the guy, the one receiving all of this stuff, started sort of making notation about what was going on in his life and how he had become the savior of the future. And it just got more and more elaborate. And the more he played along, the more they decided to keep seeding the program, until at one point he gets a call from his supposed best friend from the future, who's now come back in time because it's all about to go down, and you need to get a bus ticket to this city like right now. And he got met at this bus depot in this other city, and he was
Wow.
whipped around the city by this group of, basically they became environmental actors for a one-man show, all about him, or one
Wow.
audience member show. But at the end of it, they led him to this theater that they had completely rigged out and rehearsed the big climactic time battle. And so he got shoved on stage to this roaring house of an audience and had to sort of puzzle his way through live this elaborate final battle scenario they had set up for him. And it involved a time portal where he was then sent back in time to be the one to drop the photo album on his own doorstep and things.
cool.
And it's this amazing blog, and I'm going to post it because, I mean, I haven't read it in
Yeah.
a year or so, and so I'm probably messing up some of the details. But just the project fascinates me in its accidentalness, and B,
Yeah.
its elaborate actual pulling it off completion. And I've always wanted, since reading this, to figure out how to do the future shock, how to find somebody that I have a weak link with, that I can initiate this, that would play along.
Mhm.
Now, did he, before the moment in the theater, did he piece together that it was a game?
I think he knew
I'm trying to gauge
from
his
the beginning.
excitement or disappointment.
I mean, I don't think he ever fully believed that he was getting deliveries from the future.
Yeah.
Um,
I would at least I would
I would
struggle.
want to.
I would struggle with that question, and here's why. And I know I've told you two before this about when I was a kid, and if people, and I'm talking like 6 to 10 years old, like that's the age range, walking through the mall or any like crowded area, if people were staring in my direction for too long, this is what my brain came up with. They are travelers from the future. And in the future, something that you can do as sort of a tour or a vacation is you can go back in time and observe historical figures, before they sort of broke out, and became like the big thing.
uh-huh.
And so I imagine that these were like tours from the future, come back in time to see me as a child because I was going to do some epic, world changing thing.
Podcast.
It begins now. Yeah. And so, yeah, I remember clearly having this thought as a child. And so if I had received that future shock thing, I'd say anytime, maybe up to 10 years ago, I would have totally thought it was a book from the future.
I think he certainly
Yes.
was willing to want to believe, but I don't think he really deep down believed all the way through.
My problem is I have you guys as friends. I always knew that I've always known I'll die alone. No, I've always knew when I was a kid, because I would get so mad at. I think Aaron and I had this discussion once. I would get so mad at time travel movies where time was wasted because all the don't believe kind of stuff, and like so I made like a deal with myself when I was a little bitty that I was like, okay, if I show up and it's me, I don't know if we're gonna have a code or what, but I was like, okay, I'm going to go for it because I'm going to travel back to the past and hang out with me at some point to do something. And I think Aaron expressed a similar idea once, and we decided that
Jeff is my
if one of us-
emergency contact person in any alternate dimensions I may end up in.
because I'll just go for it.
Now,
Like, all right.
speaking of time travel contingency plans, and this was a question I used to ask my friends, and I have gotten away from it because
Title, please. Title.
yeah. Okay, so I'll just say it
Don't
briefly
make me admit this on air.
and in the nicest way possible. If you traveled back in time and encountered yourself, and I'm going to say age 18 and older, okay, because it just gets weird, would you make out with your younger self? Like, because it's you, it's totally you. So, I mean, talking about, self-love and whatever, I don't know, except, yeah, and we can go beyond make out if that's what you want to do. But I'm just saying, if you had the opportunity and went back in time, would you do anything with your 18 and older self?
Oh man, I would ruin myself. They would need dental records. No, I would not.
Now, here's the thing.
I would not. No.
I asked this, and I don't think I've ever
not.
had anybody say yes. And I asked the question, but I think I've only answered it to one person. And so you can answer it yourself in your own brain right now, however you wish.
If you would like to answer this question, send your anonymous email to ArTechníkPodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. I just made it weird.
I don't know. I'd be like, I don't know. Get some mouthwash. We'd have to discuss this a lot.
Like,
No, I would no.
wait. I want to describe the visual that I am watching because I see Jeff obviously thinking, like based on the way your eyes are moving and
My Velociraptor head movements.
Yes. But then you like are very emphatically like, no, I would not do that. And so I think you're still considering it. Like tonight, late at night, when Jeffy is, still lying in bed. Yep. Getting a little handsy, getting a little lonely. The lactating mother cat pheromones are,
That's what it is.
mixing
That's
in his
what's messing me up.
He may choose differently. That's all I'm going to say.
I like continuing on this line of temporal emergency contingency plans.
Sure.
Okay.
What would you do in the event of temporal emergency, assuming that you knew? I guess if you're like the one person that the universe is changing around, so somehow you know that. So if you're what are famous fictional time travelers where that happens to? Captain Picard and the last episode of Next Gen. Mm-hmm. Any of the time travelers in H.G. Wells, right? Marty McFly. I guess the Doctor would know.
Doctor would probably know. He folded. But H.G. Wells traveler, he never encounters himself.
Right, but he's aware. Does he ever alter the time stream, and is he aware of changes in the Doc
He
Brown
spends
alternate
much more of his
1985
time in the
speech?
future than he does in the past.
That's
Okay.
true.
I haven't read it.
Really
I've
an
never read
exploration of
any books. I think they're called. I've not. I don't know what those are.
Yeah. Other time travel. Oh, I've talked about this one before. That ex-president one, the one where they go back in time and it's all revolving around like Bill Clinton. Like they have to go.
Oh, that book. Yeah. Did you talk about that book on the show?
I don't remember. It's I'm trying to the shortest way possible. It's called President X, and it was written like I think in the late 90s, early 2000s.
I think you're safe. I think we've only talked about this at the coffee shop. Keep going.
And so it was written early 2000, right after Clinton had been president, and it was set about 20, 30 years in the future, so 2025, 2030. And the premise was we were basically in a World War III, and there were different factions, of course, and basically you find out that there is this government agency that has been aware of time travel for some years, and they very seldom travel through time, but they have created a way to actually communicate back and forth through time, like time travel two-way radio sort of way thing.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so basically, this war was put into, or the escalation of this war came about because, if you remember, during Clinton's presidency, he was. They were starting to put a lot of new taxes on tobacco and everything to offset healthcare costs. And so the idea was taxes rose so fast on cigarettes that the cigarette companies, it was no longer profitable for them to sell here in the United States. So they flipped and started aggressively selling overseas. And so after about 10 or 15 years of people smoking, cancer rates went way up. And, so all of these countries sued the United States because the United States, of course, because they were still giving tax breaks to the cigarette corporations, blah, blah, blah. They sued them in The Hague, like the World Court, and The Hague, the World Court ruled in the other countries' favors, which created a financial crisis, which then triggered this war. And so the idea was they needed to go back in time to change some of the legislation to avoid this devastating world war. But what happened was there was, I'm trying to remember, there's a mistake that happens, or oh, that's what it is. They cannot, for some reason, the two-way radio, because apparently the tech they have is Chinese. And so because they're trying to communicate with the 1990s America, and it's coming across as like a Chinese carrier wave or whatever is, they don't trust the intel that's coming through. So they have to go back to when Bill Clinton was like a teenager and get teenage Bill Clinton to go to the 90s to tell President Bill Clinton so that he will believe. They basically got to get him to tell himself to change this legislation to avoid
Which was
this
so
big crisis.
easy to do because they were both stoned.
Yeah. But it was just an amazing, it was just a brilliantly told story. There's all these clever things. There's a guy that they have to leave behind in like 1960 when Bill Clinton, or 50, I can't remember when Bill Clinton was in his teens, but they have to leave somebody behind in their time traveling party. And that guy ends up becoming James Carville, who then is the person, the campaign manager that helps get Clinton elected. And so it was just it was absolutely brilliant. It was such a clever story.
So is it like a Chrono Trigger, which is a RPG made by the same company makes Final Fantasy? Limited number of people in your party problem. Like they could only bring so many people. So only so many people could time jump at a time.
No, I think what it was when they were back in the 1950s, 60s time, something went wrong, and so somebody had to activate the device from the outside, and so
okay.
So he volunteered, and that's why he got left in the past. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Speaking of, if you've not played Chrono Trigger, it is an awesome game. It's an old Super Nintendo game that I really like, which was also about time travel and changing the past and the future, but in like this fantasy, Final Fantasy kind of style setting. And it was really cool because it had all of these multiple endings, depending on when in history you beat the game and how far along you were and what party members you had and all this. Like, it had more endings than I could shake a stick at, and it was a game that was released in like 96, I think, or something like that, which was pretty impressive, I think, at the time to create that much of a branching storyline in a game that was already really pretty deep, which I enjoyed.
Cool.
But I digress.
I think we're all digressing because we're here. Let's turn this a little bit. Okay. So time travel, and so the idea. Let's just throw that question out there: if time travel were possible, and we could go back and tell our younger selves something,
everything.
Yeah,
I would destroy
you
the
pick
rest
an
of
age?
the world to try and get a few pieces of key advice to a younger Aaron.
What would you say? What would be? And let's say you had limited duration, like whatever the time hold the loop. You've got 5 minutes to talk to your younger self. What are you going to convey?
Ooh.
I think a lot of it would be about picking a couple of things and really digging in a little bit earlier and a little bit longer. through classes wise where I kept, this is hard right now. I'm never going to want to be able to do this anyway. So why am I practicing the piano or karate or gymnastics or, just I sort of went through the Rolodex and just never stayed on anything until college. Um, and I feel like if I had worked a skill set more steadily earlier, I would be more adept at some of the things I do, and B, have a bit more discipline when approaching new skill sets now.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And just helping find some of or maintaining. There was a period when I was just confident about doing and creating, and then I let it all get beat out of me, and I had to rediscover all of that. And if I could somehow convey that it's all going to come back, and don't reset to zero to try and be cool, and not do the things you want to be doing, that's information I would want to have had.
Cool. And I was unofficially timing you. You were under the 5-minute mark, so well done, Aaron. That is a message that you could convey to your younger self.
Okay.
And so now Jeff and I have had the opportunity to think a little bit more.
Sure.
I'll go ahead, Jeff.
Oh, okay.
I think I would definitely tell my younger self, stick with ballet. Like, no matter, you get good at that. Like, that is one of my biggest regrets, is dropping out of that at about the age of, I think it was 12. And then getting back into it was hard. And it's, I don't do it at all anymore. So I would definitely say stick with ballet. It will serve you so well later on in life. The other thing I would say is be confident. Love yourself, be confident, because you are smarter and you are a better person than 88% of the population out there. And I don't want to say that, I get to be a little bit egotistical here. I'm talking to myself.
Sure.
I mean, what, how much more Freud?
I think you're entitled to be, but you still got a time limit. Go.
Sure. And so I would say, love yourself, be confident. You're better than a lot of the people that you will encounter. I would say be braver, take bigger chances, step out, travel more, do more things when you are younger, because it gets harder the older you get. And I would say, no matter what people out there, no matter which people out there violate your trust, you should fight. You should fight for finding that trust in other people, or more openly trusting other people. I think that makes sense. You don't.
It would to him, and that's
It would
the
probably
important
make
thing.
sense to you.
Yeah.
It would. It would. I think it would. So even though people are going to let you down, don't rearrange your life view because of it. Yeah.
I guess okay, that was good. I would sit myself down. I would say self. I would say play guitar more, play guitar sooner, relax about girls. Oh, my hosts are home. That's not what I would say to my 5-year-old self. I'm just saying that my hosts are home right now. So I guess, I don't know if we keep doing the show or not.
I heard the door.
In through the door.
Keep going. It's fine.
Oh, okay. Let's say hello. I think we have to pause. Okay.
I'd say hey to Martin. I'll say hey. She can't hear me. All right.
She can't
I'm
hear
waving.
you.
Yeah. All right, keep going. Old Jeff,
okay.
Talk to 5-year-old Jeff.
All right. Okay. I would say play guitar sooner. I would say play guitar in front of people sooner. I would say relax about girls. I would say let your brother go quicker.
I second all these motions.
And my brain's gone. Whatever else I would say is stuff.
That's
I would
okay.
say, so.
All right, cool. All right. Well, here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen. If you've been playing this little intellectual exercise at home, guess what? It's not too late. You can still do. I know. You can still do a lot of those things right now. Jeffrey cannot worry so much about girls. Aaron, you can go to Italy and focus on that one thing for 2 years and become awesome at it. And
You're gonna slap on that unitard.
I'm gonna. It would be okay. Can I focus
Little
on the
camel
trust?
nose.
Can I focus on the trust one?
Oh, okay. Yes.
So
All right.
take the easy way out. All right. If time travel was a usable tool,
Mm-hmm.
how would it be used by artists?
Irresponsibly is my first
Well, sure,
thought.
but in a more specific sense, how would an artist capitalize on creating with time travel?
Yeah,
That
that's a
sure
hard.
would help the beginning of a lot of my writing because I could go ahead and pull the things at the end. Although I write out of sequence anyway, as is.
But
So
but
I
isn't
already
that
time travel a bit when I write.
throwing it out there for artists? Because one of the thing my understanding of what artistry is sometimes embracing the natural flaws that come up, like in the writing process or the challenges. And I think if you knew those things at the beginning, you know what I mean?
See,
Like it's
I'm not really saying, how could you cheat with time travel to create art?
okay.
I'm saying, would there be
But that's where we all
time
go.
installation pieces, like where you went to the Civil War and hid an iMac in a Civil War battle scene and recorded that in holographic form to play in the future? Or would
Okay.
you do it the other way?
I missed that iMac update. Wait a minute. I need to go apply my software updates. I missed the time travel plugin.
No,
mine
there's
has
a time
flux
machine button on
capacitor
here.
the back.
Oh, okay.
It has a place to
I
plug
missed
in a
the,
flux capacitor. I've never actually had one. But
Oh, I see. You probably have to get extended Apple Care for that, though.
Wow.
Retroactively extendable to previous centuries.
That's the only way it could work, though, right?
Okay, so
if it's covering
okay.
everything.
Yeah.
not how would you use time travel to
Okay.
create art, unless you've got an answer for that. But how would
Oh,
you
okay. I
create
don't.
art of time travel? How would that
Okay.
change things? How would you be able to create?
I would take people to maybe different battles, and we would collect rubble, and we would make a beautiful mosaic once we return to the present day.
Oh, that's good.
Or,
And so it would be sort of a mosaic of rubble of all of these different battles throughout history.
Well, while we're talking battles, maybe you could superimpose different soldiers from different battles from different eras onto a field where there is a potential conflict brewing.
are you stealing humans from the timeline and bringing them to your art installation?
No, I was recording them holographically with my apparently awesome iMac.
Now, I would want to steal humans
No,
from
no,
the
the
timeline.
iMac wasn't
and-
creating
You
the
want to steal
holograph.
humans in general.
Wait, I want to steal humans from the timeline and make like a dream cast of like Othello or Macbeth or something. Because the
Ah.
thing is, if you took like an Edwin Booth or an actor from the 1800s or 1600s or what have you, chances are, even if you took him back and he was ranting and raving about that, most people would just kind of laugh it off and be like, "Oh, silly actor."
He's an
Like, you know what I
actor.
mean?
Yeah, yeah. Even
Yeah.
most of them wouldn't tell, and those that would be thought artists.
Yes.
And the others would die of whatever future contagions had inhabited their not ready for it biospheres.
Whatever. We could give him some sort of booster shot.
I know,
before they
we're
came
talking
in.
about harmless time travel, right?
Somehow, yes, everything comes out all right in the end.
Right.
What if you went
Yeah.
back through different periods and left a piece of basically, a piece of the installation, a piece of the image, so that when you looked backwards through time, you could see this complete imagery or arc of something, so that
Mhm.
you snuck into every major historic photo that makes it into every frickin' history textbook, and you left
Mhm.
one more piece of the.
You talking about
art
photobombing history
Yeah,
books?
basically.
I don't. That'd be cool. I don't know. You've got me really wanting to investigate further the time machine icon on my Mac here on the menu bar. I'm thinking it's not just about backing up files anymore. I'm
I'm
wondering.
pretty sure nobody ever clicks it. Like almost
Or maybe my
nobody ever
Evernote
clicks
is
it.
actually Forevernote.
What
There
if?
you
what
go.
if-
How would you do it as an app developer?
Oh.
send those sticky notes back to yourself.
What if? Okay, so with the time travel, we're able to create I guess wormholes, portals, time fields, or something.
Yes.
Is that true?
Sure.
Ish. I guess since we're just talking.
I like it.
What if you created like this time bubble around, like, say, and I guess it would have to be like a piece of stonework or quartz or something a little more sturdy, but like if it was all rusty and gnarly and decayed back in the past, but as we went forward in the future, it like got newer. So instead of the reverse of what like a lot of like outdoor sculpture does, where it gets the patina or it breaks down or whatever, this one, because we create this like little warp bubble around it, it would actually improve and like be in like
You
anti-time.
would reverse entropy in an isolated field.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's such a cleaner way to say it. Thank you, Aaron. I would reverse entropy that.
I like that. In an isolated field. Buy your new computers yesterday. God, that would make keeping up to date with with my computers easier.
Software updates would be a bitch. Because they'd
Would
be
you like
like,
to retroactively apply this update?
yeah. It'd
Oh
be
man,
like,
but then, like you go back and like your boss from 10 years ago will get so mad at you because you could have sent in that spreadsheet earlier because you retroactively applied the new Word update so that it was actually way zippier back in the day. Anyway,
That was
wow. Okay,
that
digression
was a
upon
Google
digression.
April Fool's joke one year.
Oh yeah,
that you
I
could
remember that, yeah.
reverse timestamp things backwards into people's mailboxes. But like it would
Speaking
actually
of-
get there when you timestamped it, and they just had missed it.
Speaking of, I got a weird email that was someone trying to un-email me. Speaking of email and time travel,
Okay.
What?
I literally
Explain.
got an email that was saying so and so would like to. I forgot the language they used. Redact. It was basically like they would like to take back that email they sent, and it's a Microsoft Exchange feature that only works with other people using Microsoft Exchange servers.
Okay, I have heard of that then.
I remember way back on AOL, you could unsend emails if it hadn't been opened yet.
Which makes sense because I forgot all about that. Wow. Well, that makes sense though because AOL was a closed network, and it makes sense with Microsoft Exchange because that would be a closed network. It wouldn't work with things like POP and stuff like that. But just generally, if you would like to unsend an email, you can't. Now there is I hear the nerds; they're crying. There is one thing you can do, which is kind of like unsending an email.
What's that?
But it works. There's a Google Labs plugin thing that you can install called Undo Send. And what it does is not time travel wizardry. All right. What it does is it delays the sending of your message for either 1 or 5 minutes. I can't remember. I think just 1 minute. You might be able to adjust it. But with Undo Send, you hit send, and then a little thing shows up, says your message has been sent. Undo, which means it has not been sent yet.
They should just call that app drunk text
But then it would have to hold it 24
or
hours.
drunk chat.
Long enough to sober up.
Oh man, I bet if people could time travel, they'd undo a whole bunch of Snapchats.
Banquo. Banquo.
Well, we do not, unfortunately, this week have more time. I think we are going to have to move on to sign-offs
All right.
because it is about that time. I am the once and future Jeff.
I'm Aaron, and I recorded this sign-off next week.
See, I was going to say my name's Adam, and I already gave my sign off at the beginning of this podcast.
What would that sign-off be? Nice.
I
Okay.
dare somebody to play that backwards. See what the hell I said.
If you know what Adam
Because I don't
said,
know.
email ArTechník podcast at
You know, we have the power to do that.
We
All
do.
right. Goodbye,
Oh.
Internet.
Banquo. The king is dead. Long live
Stop
the king.
recording right now.
You're not the boss of me.